we have an opportunity now, okay, to hear from Minister Patrick Achu Asoto, the Deputy Chief of Missions of the Republic of the Philippines. I'm going to ask him to come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Eminence, Luis Antonio Cardinal Tagle, the Most Reverend John Barris, the Very Reverend Robert Kosek, members of Barnabite North American Province, special guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. On behalf of Ambassador Jose Alcuisa Jr., I would like to thank you for this opportunity to join you in this Barnabite Heart-to-Heart Ministry fundraising effort for the poor of the Philippines. It is indeed a great privilege to be here this afternoon for such a noble cause. Your founder, Saint Anthony Maria Zaccaria, said, "Spiritual life demands that you never turn back or stop going forward, but rather that as soon as you taste it, you make progress day by day and forgetting what lies behind, strain forward to what lies ahead." The Barnabite Heart-to-Heart Ministry has indeed heeded the call of the spiritual life and has not stopped moving forward. The ministry has worked tirelessly to help people in need and inspire others to practice kindness and generosity towards the less fortunate. When Typhoon Haiyan struck the Philippines in 2013, the Barnabites extended its generosity to the typhoon victims. The ministry continues its charitable work in the country and has affected the lives of thousands of Filipinos. The embassy is grateful to the Barnabite North American Province for choosing the Philippines as one of its beneficiaries. I'd like to thank the members of the Barnabite North American Province for their continued work in the service of our less fortunate brothers and sisters in the Philippines. On a personal note, I'm very pleased to be here, representing Ambassador Quisha and the embassy, to be with people who have spending their time, effort, and resources to help the needy. And as my mentors in college, the Jesuits would say, have a preferential option for the poor. This is indeed, a welcome change from my usual work in the embassy dealing with fellow diplomats and U.S. State Department and other, government officials. And, I guess I'm not the only one who cherishes going out of the I wouldn't say drudgery, but rather the deep challenges of working in an intergovernmental process. Most of the time, we would want to go out and experience something outside our regular line of work and get some insights or some inspiration from something else to make our work more meaningful or get some inspiration. The Pope's visit to Washington D.C. is an example that I want to cite because when my fellow diplomats when we congregate, well, I wouldn't use the word congregate, but when we have dinner, have lunch, we meet together. The Pope's visit is a topic of conversation lately, and everyone wants to have a ticket to see the Pope. I'm sure that I can speak for my diplomats, fellow diplomat friends and other civil service bureaucrats. They deep down inside, they have to show their secular nature, but they will not admit that they are looking for something much deeper. And I said that this visit of the Pope is an example. People are asking me, if I can get tickets for them. I said, you go to the State Department. That's your constituency. And even the other diplomats from other countries. The Philippines, is the only Catholic country in Asia, and I'm sure you can get some tickets for free for them. I said, I'm sorry, but even in our embassy, the tickets are limited, and even the ambassador's wife, Mrs. Quisha, had to come up with ingenious initiatives to get more Filipinos to see the Pope. And I was very fortunate to have been given a ticket by the White House, and I was actually willing to give it to Mrs. Quisha so that he can join ambassador on the 23rd. Then I was reprimanded by the White House. Said, that's only reserved for the ambassador and you. It's not transferable. Of course, my other colleagues were saying that, oh, lucky you. Then again, I paused and thought, maybe this is divine providence. Maybe, because I didn't ask for the ticket, but my other colleagues were. And, they're not going to ask for tickets just to see the Pope. I'm sure, because, it's different when you ask a ticket to go to a rock concert. They're asking for tickets, to see the Pope. And I can see it in their eyes that, they're looking for something else, but they will not say it openly to me. And even in the events of the Pope in New York, I was told that, heads of state were angling for tickets. Wow. Maybe, maybe this is a lesson for all of us that, deep down inside, we're looking for inspiration, a guiding light, something to look forward to, just like a star in Bethlehem, which happens to be the name of the town that we're hosting this event, right? Maybe it's not a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. Well, I just hope that that everyone will be leaving today's event, feeling blessed by God through the presence of God's representative, the Cardinal, Bishop, and Reverend here, and we will hopefully be more generous in helping our less needy brothers, because I know I'll be leaving this event with that feeling. Thank you very much.
That you really feel you still want to contribute. Now, this is fertile ground. You know what fertile ground is? It's like you're planting corn in ground that really grows. And this is for helping the poor. What is that? Matthew 25:40. You do it for the least of these. And you've done it as unto the Lord. That's what we all want to hear, that we did it for the least. And so with that in mind, and with the vision that has been painted here today, again, I'm going to bring up Father Robert Kozak to give us a little bit of the vision, and then introduce our bishop, who has some kind words to say as well.
I thank my CEO who allows me to do it. You know him too. You know who he is? Jesus Christ. I am not the CEO. I was really privileged to be a great man of the church, Bishop and His Eminence. And my history goes back, excuse me, and if I want to disrespect these, but I want to address, maybe I start here. No, I cannot start here. Goes back in 2005. In 2005, I met His Eminence for the first time. His very small room was less than a mile from my room in Tagaytay. It was the seminary of Good Shepherd. And at the time, he was the Bishop of Imus. And I remember, Cardinal, we met a couple times, and we started the school of the poor children in Tagaytay called Tahanan Mapag Aruga ni Padre Semeria. This is the house of care of Father Semeria, the one of the Barnabites who started more than 36 orphanages after the First World War in Italy. Inspired by him, I turned to Cardinal and I said, Cardinal, I am really touched by all the children poor on the streets, even in our poor work of San Jose. And what to do? We have this big bodega and we're using for nothing, just simply to store the air. So, I really was touched by his example, honestly, for his example as a priest and as a bishop. And I said, well, I'd like to do something. And I think that one particular incident happened before Christmas. One of our students in Tagaytay, I asked him to go and ask what the children would like. He brought a piece of almost a cardboard, and on this cardboard, it was kind of a sizable, and I thought, my gosh, there was so long list of gifts. And I looked at this, and there was an outline of the food of a child. And I said, oh my gosh, other children and myself, oh, when I have new iPad, this. And just this child asked for a pair of shoes. And I thought myself, my Lord, we should do more, not only one day. And I went to the Cardinal and with his encouragement, because as you know, when you start a good thing, the devil wants to sway you. And the devil comes with other different people, even the closest one. I went, I said, Cardinal, you remember, I said, if you say that this goes, it goes. So we bless. And 2016 of February 18, the birth of the Barnabite fathers. And I want at this moment to thank Bishop Barris for allowing to print in 80 times all our news about this charitable organization. Bishop, thank you so much. Thank you. And so with that, we started. I came back here, recalled, I don't know if they sent me back because I have done something wrong, I don't know. But I came back to Bethlehem, to the house of bread. And I have to tell you, when I came here, there was another Barnabite, and I said, what can I do here? He says, nothing to do here. Wow. So, okay, well, then started to think. And I think that a few years later, about 3 years ago, we started with Deacon June Schroff, boxes to the Philippines, to Cagayan de Oro. And we started with 5 boxes. Then I approached Deacon June, at that time Gene Schroff, and I said, you know what, I would love to do something more boxes, but we need more people. And this is what the Barnabite Heart to Heart ministry originated. So we started with the boxes. We sent, you saw, over 200, and Deacon Juno actually developed this vacuum seal with the buying boxes. So we sent over 200 of them, and you can look where we sent them. But later on, I returned to my image in Tagaytay, not only give them food, not only give them education, but health. Many of those children were sick. In a special way, I want to publicly thank this Dr. Padua, who, without any cost, this Filipina was treating poor children. And you know what made me cry? When I was leaving on, this was like the November 4th, I remember, November 4th, 2006. Before that, she said, Father, please come to our house, bless the house, and she gave me a gift. And you know what she said? Father, thank you for caring for my people. Oh, really, I said, Doctor, I thank you. No, I said, I thank you for caring. I said, they're also my children. And actually, this is how I feel. I feel about Filipino, South American. I was sent to the Philippines. So that's exactly, when they send me back to someplace else, that will be, but all the children are our children. When our Ricardo said, dignity and family, the connectiveness and communion around us. It is, I can feel that, yeah. Be inspired by the Spirit and your people and Bishop and Cardinal. I thought, let's do something very big. And we started, I want to announce, and I hope that Cardinal and Bishop doesn't call me. Actually, I want to start with their mobile health network for the poor children in the Philippines. What this will going to be is, you saw the self-contained clinics. self-contained clinics, which will go, as using Cardinal's words, like oases of love in the desert of carelessness of people and egoism. Those mobile clinics will take care of the children, the most poor, and also with the mothers. We start this program for the first time with the blessing of Cardinal in Manila, with Caritas Manila, and his blessing. The first one will be inaugurated next year, and we'll keep you updated when and how. Cardinal will address that issue of the logistic wherever he, as a shepherd of that archdiocese, will design that will go. It is network, and I'm also privileged by having here people representing the Filipino government, and was just talking to them. We'll bring them into different villages where network of health, it is very scarce. We'll reach there thanks to you, because you are those voices, those hands and the hearts that reach beyond the water. Maybe you never will be in the Philippines, that is, you're physically, but this is not important. Were you already there with your heart? And you know what Jesus says? Wherever is your treasure, there is your heart. And I want to thank you for putting your treasure with the children and laying this in the front of the cross. So with this, I want to say that I'm encouraged by his brother that actually would start a new chapter, the Barnabite heart-to-heart chapter in Virginia. We will start, in Flemington and in Poconos. So we are growing. We need, honestly, people, my brothers and sisters, we need people who are dedicated. So this is what I want to say. As I introduce our shepherd, Most Reverend John Barris, Bishop of Allentown, I want to say that our bishop was appointed as a liaison to the pontifical the mission societies. So he represents all our USA Conference of Bishops, Father Bishop Barris. And these presents, his presence links us not only as an American church, but a church in Diocese of Allentown. And can you imagine, we are so blessed to have him here, which is bridging with his boss, if I may say, to Cardinal Tagle. It is my privilege and honor to present to you Bishop Barris.
It is a privilege as the Bishop of the Diocese of Allentown, Pennsylvania. What a great diocese it is, with such great people who are servants of the Lord and servants of the church. We are so proud of you. It's my great privilege to introduce our guest of honor this afternoon. But I can only introduce them in the context of our beautiful anticipation of Pope Francis's presence among us and the world meeting of families. There's a story from the life of St. Pius X, early 20th century, who, when he was elected Pope, he was given a papal ring. And when his mother went to kiss his papal ring, she kissed it and she said to him, remember, she held up her wedding ring. She said, remember, without this ring, that ring doesn't exist. Mr. and Mrs. Tagle, without your wedding rings, Cardinal Tagle's Episcopal ring, which he'll raise for us now, would not exist. Please join me in thanking the Tagle family. And the entire family, your marriage, your radical fidelity in the sacrament of marriage, your family life has given a beautiful family of witness to the new evangelization and this prophetic global servant churchman. Thank you so very much. In the joy of the gospel, Pope Francis writes, Jesus can break through the dull categories with which we would enclose him, and he constantly amazes us by his divine creativity. Whenever we make the effort to return to the source and to recover the original freshness of the gospel, new avenues arise, new paths of creativity open up, with different forms of expression, more eloquent signs and words with new meaning for today's world. His Eminence, Luis Cardinal Tagle, models for the church globally, and for us in the Diocese of Allentown, Pennsylvania, in a very personal way this afternoon. The joy of the gospel, the creativity of the new evangelization that comes from deep mystic intimacy with Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and the determination of the instruments of the divine mercy to break through global indifference to poverty, every dimension of human suffering, and in a special way, the pain of those who suffer natural disasters. Eminence, how deeply we are inspired by your courage and leadership during the typhoon crisis in the Philippines, as well as Pope Francis's solidarity with you and the people of the Philippines during that time. We are so happy and privileged to honor that faith and that courage this afternoon, as together we support the Make Sad Eyes Smile initiative on behalf of the people of the Philippines. In introducing the coming Jubilee Year of Mercy, Pope Francis said, "Mercy is the beating heart of the gospel, and mercy is the beating heart of the prophetic witness and mysticism influencing history of Luis Cardinal Tagle." Please stand and join me in welcoming His Eminence Luis Cardinal Tagle, Archbishop of Manila.
Thank you very much, Bishop. Please remain standing in solidarity with me. No, please be seated. No, that's dangerous. If you start standing, you might be required to stand the whole time. Bishop, thank you very much for your kind words. Thank you. And thank you for welcoming the family, myself. And thank you for supporting Father Robert Kozek and the Barnabite community. Thank you. He speaks highly of you. And when he misses the Philippines, just the thought of you makes him forget the Philippines. And thank you, Father Robert, for your continued support, especially of the poor and the ministry of the church in the Philippines. Thank you. And to all of you, dear brothers and sisters, this is a day for us to really celebrate God's love. I don't have a speech prepared really for this afternoon. I would just like to highlight a few things in relationship to this project of heart to heart. Yes, many people give, but I don't know how many give from the heart. And some people with a big heart have no envelope, nothing to give, but they give their heart. They don't only give from the heart, they give their heart. Just to highlight the importance of giving from the heart, and in the end, ultimately giving our hearts to others. I was able to visit a feeding program for malnourished children in one part of the Philippines. There is an ongoing program where children are weighed, and those who do not meet the standards are fed daily for 6 months. And periodically they are checked, tested, including the parents. For sometimes it's the parents who gain weight rather than the children during the 6 months. The mother will say, "Oh, you eat," and the child says, "No, okay." They eat. A lot of cheating happens. And so we also weigh the parents, not just the children. And we say, "Aha! How come the weights of the children remain the same, and the parents?" But that's very rare, very rare, very rare. Yeah, and I went to one center, the feeding center. They did not know that I would visit. And I passed through the back door. There was this group of volunteers preparing lunch. They did not see me coming to them, but I heard their conversation. One said, "Had I known how tedious this work is, I would not have volunteered." And she was complaining while cleaning the chicken and everything. And the other one said, "Oh, you're not alone. Me too." And the other one said, "Imagine, I spent the whole morning cooking for children that are not mine. They're not related to me." And I said, "Hey," good morning. And they saw me. "Oh, Bishop, how are you?" I said, "Hey, we are feeding malnourished children. And the ingredients that you put into the food, heartaches, complaints, they will not gain weight." We are defeating the purpose of this feeding program. Now, they are very good people, and once in a while, all of us complain about hard work, etc. And that became a moment for all of us to reflect. Yes, we do a lot of work, but a time comes when we do the work, but not from the heart. And our heart is not in what we're doing. And when that happens, especially when the work is not really work, but an act of love, how could that be an act of love if it does not come from the heart and the heart is not involved? So this is not just a beautiful title, Heart to Heart. It means a lot. Without the heart to heart, it is not ministry. So we need your hearts. Of course, your envelopes too. Is that okay, Father? He coached me. He encouraged me to say that. That was not part of my script. But even if there is no more checkbook, no one can say, "I have nothing to give." You have your heart. So take care of your heart. From there, everything could generate more love, more compassion. But it must come from within. The second thing is, we are all aware of suffering in the world. Each of us each one here has had his or her share of suffering, different types of suffering. And suffering could happen could be experienced on different levels. We do not wish suffering on anyone, even if they are strangers. But suffering comes. But when it comes, especially to children and to the most vulnerable, then suffering shows its real face. And if you have a heart, you will not be left unaffected. Look at how the world has been shocked, moved by the images of that young boy, the corpse of that boy that was washed out on the washed up to the beach of in Greece, escaping from Syria. Then they got to Turkey, and only the father survived. The mother of the child died, the elder brother, and the father brought the corpses of his family to back to Syria to bury them. And he said, "Now I do not know whether there is still a future for me." His life revolved around his family, and with the family gone, this suffering. And in a world of suffering, people ask, where is God? That's almost instinctive. We look for God. But when we see suffering brought about by human choices, by violence, war, by insensitivity, by indifference, selfishness, ambition, when suffering comes from all of that, we also ask the question, where is humanity? We don't only look for God, we look for the human heart. Where is humanity? What type of humanity would allow something like this to happen? Can we still find decent human beings? And what type of person, what type of humanity is it that creates this type of suffering, that tolerates this type of suffering, and could be blind to that type of suffering? So it's a question of faith. It's also a question of who we are. And we hope that a new communion, a new unity will be built around compassion for the suffering. For suffering is a common human experience. If there is something that should unite humanity, it is suffering. For everyone must understand the suffering of others, even of enemies. The test of real communion is when you can suffer with your enemy. And when children suffer, as Father said, they are our children too. We cannot say, who is the parent of this child? Who is the mother? Who is the father? They are all our children, whether we know them or not. So let us build up this community centered on compassion. But we can be compassionate if the suffering of others is treated as our own and not alien, foreign to ourselves. Suffering does not know any race, creed, educational or social standing. When somebody suffers, you find a neighbor, a brother, a sister. And that's enough reason for us to come together. And finally, let us build up this community, international community, this universal community, this worldwide communion centered on compassion for those who suffer. And let us nurture that, especially through person-to-person encounter. Yes, we can read about people who suffer. We can experience the scandal of statistics showing the big number of children who die of hunger or who die because they were not able to reach the hospital or they did not have money to buy even the most basic of medicines. Yes, statistics can help, but may I encourage all of us to engage in person-to-person encounter. Visit, go to communities that are poor, go to orphanages, go to centers where you will be able to touch the hand of a child, of a malnourished child. I remember the first time I did the washing of the feet where there was a young girl who was chosen to be one of the 12 apostles, a young girl who had a physical deformity. And I washed the foot, a shriveled foot. She had polio. Washing that tiny, tiny foot and wiping it gently and kissing it. You are changed. You are changed. And then she looked at you with the most beautiful smile, thanking you for that experience of compassion and solidarity. You are changed. But when you go to the poor, when you go to, especially to the children, please let us not come from the posture of strength and superiority. That would add to their misery. When we go to them, let us go as learners too, as people who want to learn from them. They have a lot to teach us. These poor, suffering children, they are our teachers. We go to them thinking that we will bring something to them, but in the end, after the visit, after the encounter, they are the ones who really teach us lessons of faith, of courage, of hope. They teach us how to love. We are the ones who benefit whenever we go to them. And I end on that note. A humble expression of communion and unity. Not one of pride and pretension. Oh, poor children. They are in the darkness, we are in the light. They are confused, we are not. No, they have wisdom that we need to learn from. They possess some wealth that we do not possess at all. So going to them, being one with them, we share what we have. But please, be humble to learn from them too. And I end with two short stories to highlight this. During the visit of the Pope, to the Philippines last January, we were able to arrange a private visit. It was not part of the official program of the Pope's itinerary. We were able to arrange a visit of the Pope to a shelter for street children. Yeah, that shelter is very close to my residence as Archbishop of Manila. In fact, the house is owned by the Archdiocese of Manila. And it was the school for the tiples, the choir, the boys' choir. But now, we said, oh, let it be used by children who are looking for a shelter. Abandoned on the streets, some of them not having found their parents. They do not know their parents. They just gain consciousness on the streets, abandoned them. So I visit them frequently. I think it was my second visit to them. And I interviewed a girl. Maybe at the time she was already around 18 years old, 19 years old. So I asked her about her home province, her province of origin. And she said, no idea, Bishop. I said, how about your mother? I've not seen her. I have no idea who she is. About your father? I said, no idea too. I said, oh, how did you end up here? I said, well, said, it seemed that my parents left me with my aunt, you know, and my aunt made me feel that I did not belong to her. So I sensed the difference between her treatment towards her true children and the one being given to me. So I ran away, and preferred to live on the streets. For her, that was much better than being in a home where she was made to feel every day, you do not belong to us. We're just tolerating you. And thanks to God, a social worker found her. I think she must have used drugs, this girl, or must have been into prostitution too. And a social worker discovered her and brought her to the shelter on the condition that she would go to school. And she agreed. At that point of her story, she saw that I was I was shocked at what I heard, and I didn't know how to react. I didn't know how to respond. What do you say to a girl like this? Most of us, we just presume that our parents are there, we know them, they know us. Then said, how does it feel to grow up not knowing both parents? It's so difficult to imagine. So difficult to imagine. But this is the life of this girl. And she saw on my face no grief or pain or sorrow. But before I could open my mouth again, she said, Your Eminence, be at peace. Relax. Relax. Imagine, that was supposed to be my line. But it was coming from her. She said, relax. Don't worry. I said, that's the past. Now I have a home. This is my home now. The social worker is my parent. You come to visit us. I have a family. So don't worry about me. I'm okay. But don't we all have to learn from her? We miss the bus and we complain now. Your football team loses a game and you... you don't have enough money to buy this pair of shoes that you've been longing for, etc. No, you'll attend a wedding party, and wow, your dream dress is available, but the size is too small for you, and you complain. No, and what does this girl teach us? She teaches us hope. She had her way of discerning the action of God in her life. She had every right to complain, but she does not. She even consoles us. We should go to them and learn from them. We should go to them and learn, where are they getting, from what resource are they getting this peace, this consolation, and this capacity to transcend such a miserable situation. And the last story, I visited a community which is really a community of persons living in the midst of trash. The Filipinos will probably know or must have heard of the Smoky Mountain. It's a mountain of trash. Yeah, and smoky, the fumes there. But in the middle of all those communities are human beings who have no homes, and they make the trash heap their home, and they earn a living by collecting trash, recycling, etc. But they're, in a way, it's terrible. Human beings mixed up with all the trash. Yeah. I visited one such place, and that place that I visited is a new one. They say it's not even the biggest, but there were 20,000 individuals living in the midst of trash, and there were some priests, catechists helping them. They set up a small center where children are fed, when the mothers are taught like how to prepare nutritious but economical food, meals. The fathers are taught some forms of livelihood, etc. Yeah, so I visited them. I first went around the neighborhood, and then we ended in the center. And the children prepared some songs and dances, and very noisy, really. And the priest in charge of it said, "Okay, the final number of the program, a photograph, group photograph with a cardinal." So I had a chair there, and the children rushed to me. If you see the photograph of the Holy Father in that shelter, you see it surrounded by children. So the children ran to me for a photograph. And one of them, a small girl, started playing with my face, my ear, poking my nose. Yeah, I looked like a toy. And then one of them, another girl, probably around 5, 6 years old, said, "You look like the person on the photograph near the chapel." There's the photograph of the bishop as you enter the chapel. And I told her, I was in a joking mood, so I said, "No, that's not me." And she looked at me again and said, "But he looks like you." I said, No, that's not me. And then she said, "He looks like you, then who are you?" I said, "And who is he?" I said, "Who is he?" But then I said, "Look, this girl seems to know me well. Why? That means she goes to the chapel regularly." For that's the only place where the photograph is found. Maybe in that noisy, dirty place, maybe that small chapel was where she finds peace, consolation. I don't know, maybe she hides there. And entering the chapel, she sees my photograph. How many of us go to chapels and churches regularly? Sometimes only when we think we're in the mood, or when there is dire need. But when things are going well, oh, the chapel, oh, that's some Sunday affair. But this girl, how could she have recognized the Archbishop if she did not go to the chapel always? They teach us how to pray. They teach us how to find in God their consolation, their friend. This girl could not talk with us in terms of clear, sophisticated, catechetical knowledge. But there seems to be an innocent wisdom in her that draws her, and allows her to be drawn to that sacred place to encounter her Lord. So yes, these are the things that we are embarking on if we collaborate with the heart-to-heart ministry of the Barnabites, if we contribute to make sad eyes smile. No? Let it be from the heart, and let your heart be part of the ministry. Not just what you have, but who you are, your heart. Secondly, let us form a worldwide communion of compassion for the suffering, with the suffering people. And they are everywhere. And finally, let us nurture that communion through personal contact. Meet these children, meet these suffering people. And when we go to them and we encounter them, let us be humble. Let us learn from them. Remember, they are the presence of Jesus. So before them, let us not be proud. Before a beggar, do not be proud. You are becoming proud in front of the Lord. Oh, why are you silent? So, okay, better end there. I think you're all sleeping now. Or I'm about to sleep. Yes. So thank you very much for coming and for being part of this celebration. Thank you. God bless you.
I want to thank Cardinal for his incredible, insightful, and spiritual lesson for us. You are not excused to listen to his homily at 5 o'clock. I think what Cardinal said, he's saying to each one of us, you need to be a witness that love exists. That love exists. With this thought, I want to ask Bishop Barris to unveil a t-shirt that we presented with the saying of Cardinal, and Bishop will going to read that.
Assure him with your acts of kindness that love still exists. Cardinal Tagle.
So, Bishop, please present. to Carlo. On a personal note, your brother, Carlos, said you look like this boy when you were young.
Malnourished.